Hello, I thought I would create a more in-depth video for you of how I created every woman's cape, along with pictures demonstrating the steps that I used. Here is a view looking at the top of the cape where I started from. I started with a 3-inch circle and worked the coils outward, making the cape wider little by little. This view is looking at what will be the front of the cape. The arrows are pointing to where I split one coil and made it into 2 coils. If you look closely, the coil appears to be a little thicker where it was split. In this clip, you can see where one half of the split coil is going above the redwood circle and the other half of the split coil is going below. When you split one coil into 2, you need to pack extra pine needles in to help thicken the coils quickly. It was a bit difficult to work with 2 separate coils on this small cape. Here is another close-up view of where I split the coil, forming 2 coils. You can see there's a small bump, but you really don't notice it unless you're looking for it. In this photo, the arrow points to where I merged the 2 coils back together to form 1 coil. Again, if you're looking for it in the project, you may notice it. Otherwise, it blends nicely with the rest of the red thread. This is a view of the back of the cape. You can see the thin coil I started the cape with at the top, gradually adding more pine needles to form a 1/4 inch coil. Here's a view to give you an idea of what it looks like working on 2 coils at once. I used a small clothespin to secure one coil out of the way while working on the other. Working around the second redwood circle, I ended up stitching the 2 coils together, then attaching to the upper portion of the cape. Again, I'm using a small clothespin to hold the coils together. This is a side view with one redwood circle attached at 3 points by securely wrapping right over the redwood circle. Here is a view of the cape after both wood circles were attached. The wood circles were supposed to be armholes in the cape, but I had to change it up a bit as the arms didn't fit properly. This close-up shows how the cape started flaring out to accommodate the arms underneath and also to meet up with the top portion of the dress. I kept placing the cape on the doll stand while trying to figure out how many pine needle coils I needed on the cape so that it would match up with the dress portion below. You could see the dress portion was still not finished and the coil was clamped together with a clothespin. This is a close-up view of stitching. You can see while I was adding the coil below, I was careful to follow the stitches on the coil above, giving the cape a uniform stitch look. Working with 2 coils at a time, I attached the first coil to the top of the cape and then went back and stitched the second coil to the first coil above, using the same stitching pattern throughout. This view shows where I attached both coils together above the long crevice opening and added 2 more coils below. The crevice opening was left for a netting stitch and beads to be added later. At this point, I was also working on fitting the arms and the sleeves up under the cape. I then added the netting stitch with gold beads, as well as a 3rd coil of pine needles, completing the cape portion. I still needed to add several coils to the dress portion in order to meet up with the bottom of the cape. I completed the netting stitch around the redwood circles on both sides, as well as the larger crevices in both the front and back of the cape. Here I'm measuring out the lace which accompanied the challenge packet, deciding on how to attach it to the cape. This photo shows an up-close view of the netting stitch and beads attached to the redwood circles. As I needed a few more rows to meet up to the cape, I created a decorative row on the dress by using pine needles leaving the caps on. The pine needle caps were painted red and attached securely to the dress portion. I still needed a few more rows to meet up to the cape. Here's a closer view of the painted caps on the pine needles. I didn't really care for the way every woman's arms showed through the redwood circles on the cape, so I decided to add a red satin cover to the inside. It helped to highlight the netting stitch and also the gold beads. At this point, the black lace was attached with black embroidery thread, purposely showing as the black thread was a part of the challenge packet also. Here is a close-up of the black embroidery thread from the challenge packet attaching the lace to the cape. And here we go, a view of the completed cape sitting on top of the completed dress portion below. I was so excited to get to this point. Thank you so much for watching. Face and arms are coming up in the next video.